Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring how we can actually move away from private, isolated anxiety and step into what's called accountable discernment. We're looking at a truly fascinating framework developed by Restoring Hope Ministries, or RHM. It's designed specifically for biblical counselors, mentors, and ministry leaders. They call it the WORSIP model, and let me tell you, it is an incredibly practical tool for navigating some really intense ethical dilemmas. To really grasp why this model is absolutely necessary, I want you to imagine this exact scenario straight from the RHM training materials. Picture a volunteer mentor. They're loving, well-meaning, but totally untrained. Out of nowhere, a minor asks them for counsel regarding self-harm. But there's a catch. The minor asks the mentor to keep it a total secret from their parents, to pray deliverance prayers with them, and to text them every single day after midnight. Total secrecy. It's a terrifying, high-stakes dilemma, right? If you're that mentor, the pressure is just immense. Do you make the promise? Do you try to handle this all alone?
Well, this situation brilliantly illustrates the core conflict we're unpacking today. On one side, you've got this impulsive reaction driven by private anxiety. As a helper, you feel this urgent need to rush in, fix things, and keep that dangerous secret just so you can maintain the relationship. But the source material warns us that this kind of impulse often leads to the sin of presumption, where you're acting way beyond your competence, but kind of cloaking it in spiritual confidence. On the flip side, we have accountable discernment. This means slowing down, using a structured process, and bringing in much-needed outside wisdom.
So here is our roadmap for the explainer today. We'll cover the pressure to act quickly, introducing the worship model, pause, observe, and review, search, hold, and implement, preserving the care record, and finally, accountable discernment in ministry.
Starting off with Section 1, the pressure to act quickly.
Let's look at the foundational philosophy here. When a teenager tells you about self-harm, your heart is racing. There's this huge temptation to manage the crisis quietly, maybe out of a fear of people, a fear of liability, or honestly, just a desire for institutional self-protection. But as this quote points out, the counselor's very first obligation is faithfulness, honoring the truth, and protecting the vulnerable. Acting out of isolated anxiety is genuinely dangerous. Ethical practice in ministry is literally never meant to be a solo mission. Moving right along to Section 2, introducing the worship model. Okay, so the crucial takeaway is that the worship model is a teachable, repeatable, and documentable 7-step framework. Now, its primary purpose isn't to somehow replace human wisdom, not at all. Instead, it's specifically designed to force a counselor to slow down those impulsive reactions we just talked about. It shifts you from private panic into a structured, collaborative discernment process. It essentially requires the counselor to process complex dilemmas through scripture, policy, and consultation well before they ever take action alone. Let's break this down further in Section 3, pause, observe, and review. We really have to emphasize the sheer power of the pause here. The W stands for worship and pause, or sometimes it's called wait before the Lord. Deliberately taking a deep breath disrupts the sheer panic of our opening dilemma. It centers the helper's desire to honor Christ and protect the vulnerable, rather than just trying to make the immediate discomfort go away. You literally have to quiet your own defensiveness and actively slow the situation down.
Next up is O for observe and define, or simply observe the facts. RHM trains its counselors to write down the presenting ethical concern in just one single sentence. By simply observing the facts, we strip away all of our own assumptions and loaded spiritual labels. You identify exactly who is at risk, like our minor from earlier, and you clarify what is actually known versus what's just missing information or pure speculation.
This biblical anchor leads perfectly into the R, which is review authority, or review scripture and role. In this step, yes, you review governing scriptural principles, but crucially, you must also clearly identify the exact role you are performing in that specific moment. Are you acting as a biblical counselor, a licensed clinician, a pastor, a peer mentor? Because different roles carry entirely different legal and ethical obligations. You absolutely cannot act outside your designated authority. That brings us to Section 4, search, hold, and implement.
For the S step, you need to search law and policy, or seek consultation. Notice how the exact same human problem can create wildly different legal duties depending on the framework you're in.
Because RHM functions across various contexts, you always have to check informed consent documents, professional codes, and state laws. For instance, if you're in Wisconsin, you must know if your role legally requires mandated child abuse reporting. You have to know if HIPAA privacy laws apply to your records. Spiritual language should never, ever be used as an excuse to avoid strict legal and ethical compliance. And understanding your care lane is incredibly crucial for the H step. That's hold, scope, boundaries, and have consultation. I am going to say it again because the source text makes it such a huge priority. Ethical practice is never isolated. If a situation involves safety, abuse, or any legal uncertainty, you must clarify the boundaries of your care lane and consult with a supervisor, an ethics committee member, a licensed clinician, or a legal authority before you go any further. Which brings us to the I step. Implement the least harmful faithful action. After you've done your thorough review and consultation, then you take action. Going back to our case study for a second. After pausing, checking the law, and consulting a supervisor, the mentor must implement an action that actually protects the minor's life while still preserving their dignity. Biblical hope never excuses a failure to protect life when there's real danger present. So they absolutely cannot keep that dangerous secret. They have to break confidentiality to get that child the help they need.
Next up is Section 5, Preserving the Care Record.
When it comes to documenting these decisions, which is the P step to preserve the record or preserve and pursue follow-up, RHM utilizes SOAP notes. That stands for Subjective, Objective, Assessment, and Plan. Notice the stark difference in how we might write this down. We absolutely must avoid unauthorized, judgmental labels like saying a client is manipulative and rebellious. That is purely subjective speculation. Instead, ethical documentation relies on observable, objective facts like client declined referral and raised voice discussing boundaries. It's truthful, it's respectful, and it is clinically relevant. I really love this particular phrase from the source material. Documentation is ministry memory under discipline. It's not just annoying, bureaucratic paperwork. Good documentation includes recording the solid facts of what happened, the biblical principles you considered, the exact consultations that took place, and the specific rationale for your final decision, along with any necessary follow-up plans. You should write the record as though the counselee, a supervisor, a court of law, and Christ himself might read it.
Finally, Section 6, Accountable Discernment in Ministry.
This quote really perfectly captures the delicate balance that the worship model provides. It ensures that complex boundaries, safety issues, and strict legal duties are handled faithfully and collaboratively. This prevents a situation from being totally mishandled by an isolated helper who might just be in way over their head. It beautifully marries deep biblical conviction with essential procedural diligence.
So I want to leave you with this thought. How are you going to approach your very next counseling dilemma? Will you fall back on impulsive, isolated anxiety? Or are you going to embrace accountable discernment? Keep the worship framework. Worship, observe, review, search, have consultation, implement, and preserve. Right there in your toolkit. Slow things down. I really hope this explainer has equipped you with a much deeper understanding of how to faithfully handle the complex challenges ahead.